Mornye has now been out for a while, and since I've had the chance to test her out more extensively, I thought I'd evaluate whether my pre-release pros and cons on the character were accurate or not. My name is Juice, and let's get into it. The first thing that I mentioned is that Mornye would be a viable Shorekeeper replacement even at S0R0, and this is very much the case. Now I should make something very clear. If both characters are S0R0, Shorekeeper is generally going to be a better flexible option. However, in particular teams such as Lynae teams and Monofusion teams, Mornye is going to be better, and I imagine that in Toonbreak focused teams going into the future, Mornye is likely to also be better. However, if you give either of them some investment, then Mornye is actually going to end up being better. For instance, an S2R1 Mornye is definitely going to be better than an S2R1 Shorekeeper. So, all around, Mornye does have the capability to be better than Shorekeeper, but you have to go the extra kilometer and invest into her a little bit more. At a baseline, as an S0R0 character, she is a Verena upgrade and a Shorekeeper downgrade, but in some teams can be a Shorekeeper upgrade, and is all around an excellent alternative, but is gonna allow you to have two versatile third slot teammates in your middle tower, and because of this, she ends up being extremely valuable, because being an alternative to Shorekeeper in of itself is already a very lofty thing to be in the Wuthering Waves meta, considering how Shorekeeper has been utterly dominating it since her very conception. So yes, she is indeed an excellent Shorekeeper alternative, and basically any team where you would have used Shorekeeper, you can indeed use Mornye instead, and she is still going to be an excellent third slot teammate. I will say that if you choose to use the double Toonbreak core, well then you have formed the current strongest team core in the game that can literally be applied to every non-negative status DPS. So, even as a standalone character, she is indeed an alternative to Shorekeeper. However, whenever you pair her with Lynae, her flexibility and potential only grows. Genuinely, this character's potential and meta viability is absolutely insane. She was already a must-pull off of looks alone. Her being an absolute meta behemoth is just an awesome bonus. Another thing is that she is Toonbreak investment, and this very much ended up being the case. The double Toonbreak core is every bit as insane as I imagined it being. Kuro is kind of crazy for releasing these two and allowing them to be so flexible. I'm glad they did, because it has been an absolute blast using these two, and I really like the double Toonbreak core, but oh my goodness, it is so strong, and the moment we get a DPS that is able to fully leverage this core, oh dear, I am fearing what is going to happen to the enemies in TOA. They are not just going to get defeated, they are going to get utterly obliterated off of Solaris. It should also be noted that if you went for an S2 Mornye, she is able to increase the off-toon build-up rate of all of your teammates by 20%. So if you really want to invest further, then you do have options to do so. But all around, even at S0R0, she is an excellent investment into the Toonbreak archetype, because as proven by the double Toonbreak core, this is currently an extremely strong archetype. And generally, even at S0 when you're not able to have full uptime on Mornye's buff, you would still rather just spam Toonbreaks, as opposed to trying to time it specifically, and all around, I can only see Toonbreak getting crazier from here. I'm gonna be honest, so far, I have really been enjoying how Kuro has been handling Toonbreak, because while this core is absolutely broken, these are both very flexible characters that you can apply to basically anywhere on your account, and they are not just tied to Toonbreak. It is very nice to see. Another thing that I said before is that it would be likely that she would end up being quite budget friendly due to her nature as a third slot teammate, and this ended up being true in spades. Even if we detach her from high astrites based investment and just look at what you can get out of wave plates, you only need 260% ER on her build, and that is basically fine. Obviously, if you want more healing, you can build more def. If you want more damage, you can build more def and crit damage, etc, etc. There are ways that you can improve her build, but generally, if all you're looking for is just for Mornye to do her core job, then literally all you need is 260% ER, and you can also just easily use the 4-star Broadblade Discord on her. So she is all around an extremely cheap unit, and considering that you don't need sequences in order to access her universality, and you don't need sequences in order to access insane potential on this character, and while her signature weapon is good, it's definitely not a must-pull by any means, this is genuinely an extremely accessible unit. When you pull this character right out of the box, you have yourself a very strong meta unit, and I think that is a very strong quality to have, considering this is one of the best characters in the game at the moment. Another thing that I brought up is that she would be amazing in fusion-based teams, and this very much ended up being the case. Because she herself is a universal support with the fusion attribute, she is able to contribute to Lupa's passive and fully activate it, allowing you to form a very strong mono-fusion team, including Mornye, and the synergy is very, very nice. Even if you don't have Mornye's S1, considering that Lynae can't really be put into the mono-fusion team after all, it is still going to feel really strong, and it still ends up being one of Mornye's best niches. And yes, S1 Mornye is actually quite a nice boost to this particular team, considering that she already has such inherently natural synergy with it, but in any case, this is one of her best teams at the minute. And if you're really into fusion characters, well, we have quite a lot of them, so there's a high chance that you probably like at least one of them, and Mornye is definitely going to be able to benefit those kinds of teams. It does once again boil down to just Lupa being insanely broken, but even so, I still think that is worth something, and it's really cool that Mornye is so good in mono-fusion. Another thing that I mentioned is that she would end up being an S-tier unit, because you cannot be a Shorekeeper-like unit and not be S-tier. Well, lo and behold, yeah, pretty much. She is in fact an S-tier unit. 100%. She is without a shadow of a doubt one of the game's best characters at the minute, and if you're just starting Wuthering Waves, if you're a veteran, if you've only been playing for a few months, it doesn't matter. I recommend this character. She is so freaking good. It's basically the same case as Lynae where, listen, it doesn't matter what kind of player you are, you should be getting this character. But at least with Lynae, there were negative status mains who wouldn't be benefiting from her. In this case, okay, negative status mains are once again not benefiting from the double Toon Break core, but even so, they can still use Mornye as a third slot teammate. Everyone benefits from Mornye. Everyone. Literally does not matter who you play or what kind of teams you like, Mornye will be good for you. Now, maybe you've already pulled some more niche third slot teammates to fill specific roles, maybe you're already satisfied with your third slot teammate roster, maybe having more versatility on your account isn't really what's needed, but even so, I would still pick up this unit. She is going to find usage on your account no matter what. She is genuinely just that strong, and while she does have specialty in Toon Break teams and mono-fusion teams, that does not mean that she is only good in those teams. She is good basically anywhere. And if anyone understands how broken that is because of Shorekeeper, obviously she's not as good as Shorekeeper at S0R0, but if you know how broken that is, and you know why I'm glazing this character so hard, she is very, very good and should absolutely be pulled if you have the Astrites. Now, obviously, if you just don't want her or you don't like her, there are plenty of other third slot teammate options in the game right now, and Kuro Games does seem to continuously make new third slots, so don't worry if you really don't want her. But I would be lying if I said this character wasn't bordering on must pull. Yes, there is no such thing as a must pull, I get that, but if there was, she'd be close to it. Now, in terms of flaws, one of the ones that I mentioned is that she would prefer Lynae most likely due to her Toon Break specialty, and while this is the case, it doesn't really matter. She is still ultimately a universal third slot teammate, even irrespective of Lynae. Yes, her top potential is definitely reached with Lynae, this is true, and I imagine that future Toon Break characters are also going to help assist Mornye in fully utilizing her kit, but even with that being said, I don't really think this is anything you should get too hung up on. It's really the only realistic flaw that I can come up with for Mornye, other than that maybe with her heavy attack, her field time can feel a little bit long. But if you have R4 plus Discord, then you can just skip using her heavy attack because her concerto generation is good enough, and even so, the buffs that you get out of it just make it worth it. So all around, sure, I guess this is an existing flaw, but I really wouldn't worry about it too much. Like, okay, sure, she would ideally want to play in the double Toon Break core at the minute. It is definitely her definitively strongest core, without a shadow of a doubt, but I really wouldn't concern yourself over it too much. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. Where do I currently think that Mornye stands in the meta? Well, I made my feelings pretty clear not too long ago. This is an S-tier unit. I really don't think there is any other way about it. No two ways about it. This is an S-tier unit. She is one of the best Wuthering Waves characters in the game at the minute. She is absolutely fantastic. I think that she is really, really strong, really valuable, really useful. Everything about this character is good and cool, and I think she's awesome. She is mega strong. Super, super strong, without a shadow of a doubt. So all around, all I can really do is recommend this character. She is so good. You have the information, you know how good she is, and you are aware that this character is likely going to be an excellent investment into Toon Break going forward. If that's something that you're interested in, I would definitely recommend getting Mornye. She is amazing. Now, if you cannot get her, as in you lose your 50-50, and you're feeling a little bit worried about that, once again, don't worry. People have been clearing without Mornye for ages now. Just because we got another character like Shorekeeper doesn't mean that your account is going to be bricked if you don't have her. Because like I said, most teams are starting to have other third slot options. Mornye is fantastic, but I don't want you to feel pressured into getting her if you just really don't like her. But even so, I cannot undersell this character. I don't want to cause pressure, but I'm not going to undersell her. She is actually that good, and she is actually that type of character where you should drop your plans and just get her. She is genuinely that strong if you care about meta. But if you're not that interested in keeping up with meta, and you just want to use someone else, you very much can. There are plenty of other options for a majority of teams, so don't feel pressured if you really don't want her. But I am going to especially emphasize how strong this character is because she genuinely deserves that praise, and it is not every day that we get a character like this. Okay, we did recently get Lynae, and that was kind of insane, but generally, we don't get characters like this that often. So I will very much highlight, hey, this character's kind of broken, you might want to pay attention to that. Hopefully this video was able to tell you my opinions on Mornye now that we've had her out for a while. This has been Juice, signing out, and the most important opinion of them all is that this is an absolutely gorgeous freaking character. Gosh, I cannot get over that.